President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed a three-member independent panel to probe whether arms were loaded onto a Russian vessel that docked in Simonstown last December. It comes after U.S. Ambassador to South Africa, Reuben Brigety, accused Pretoria of supplying weapons for Moscow's war against Ukraine. Let's get you some analysis this morning on this latest inquiry. We're joined by Willem Els, who is with the Institute for Security Studies. Willem, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for your time this Monday morning. That's the big question, I suppose. Is this necessary?
Good morning to you. Yeah, that is a big question because, you know, the president was forced to act swiftly because this whole debacle is starting to bite South Africa in terms of the rand that has fallen and also in terms of investor confidence. That is always that is having an effect on the economy, and while it's having an effect, a negative effect on the economy, that negative effect also has a negative effect on the security, but also on the rise of crime, etc., etc. So basically, the president would normally appoint a commission of inquiry of this nature for two reasons, and I think the short answer there is, on the one hand, if there's a break of trust between him and his cabinet ministers and he doesn't trust the feedback and he wants to get to the bottom of it, that is the one scenario that might play out. The other one is that he might have kicked for the line and he wants to buy some time in order to formulate a response to allow the situation to cool down a bit before they respond to it, because in the end, this is a very serious challenge for South Africa. We see that the Congress in America has already tabled a resolution where they want to urge the president to revise his policy and relationship towards South Africa, and that is very serious for us.
Yeah. So you reckon it's somewhat of a diplomatic move?
I think so. It is. You know, normally when they appoint these type of commissions here, it's to cool it down and to buy time. But we also understand that time is not on our side when it comes to these big international players. So it may be a political move from his side. Maybe he's already got all the information needed, and he is just buying some time.
Yeah, because the alternative, Willem, which you mentioned in your first answer to us, that this signals a lack of trust from the president in his cabinet and the information he might receive if he asks for it, that doesn't bode well either.
That is very true. You know, weapons and the export of weapons and arms ammunition has been a contentious issue in South Africa for a long time. And that is why we got the NCAC Act that dates back to 2000, where one of the contentious points there was transparency and also the oversight of Parliament. And we see that in 2002 they removed that oversight from Parliament and they left the decision-making in the hands of the Ministers of Defence and Security as well as the Minister in the Presidency. And that sort of rings a few sirens for us, because, you know, we need transparency when it comes to this, because one of the prohibitions of the Act is that you know, South Africa cannot deliver arms and ammunition to countries that are in conflict. And are we breaking that law at the moment? We don't know.
Yeah. One of the other things that the inquiry will be investigating is not only whether arms were loaded or offloaded onto that ship, but also the circumstances that led to the docking of the ship. There's some analysis that says the ship is under U.S. sanctions, so really there was no responsibility on the part of South Africa to not allow the ship to dock there in the first place, outside of the arms issue.
That is correct. You know, in the first place, that is a civilian ship. It's not a military vessel, and it was allowed to dock in our military port when your Cape Town harbour is just a few kilometres away. You know, why then docking at a military port when it could dock at a civilian port, being a civilian vessel? So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. You know, one thing that we must just understand is for the American ambassador to make these accusations, they must have done their homework. This is a serious issue, and I don't think that it would have been made just on skimpy information. There must be more behind the scene that we do not know at the moment.
So the inquiry has 6 weeks to complete its work. We know that it can appeal for more time if they do feel that it is needed. One wonders if this is an issue that will be resolved by the time of the BRICS summit in August.
Yeah, that is the big question. You know, South Africa doesn't have a very good history when it comes to these type of commissions. Normally they extend it beyond their time a few times before they come up with resolutions and they come up with some findings. And then the problem that we have, we saw that now with the recent commissions is the implementation of those findings that are not really a priority for the country at the moment.
Yeah. It raises another question just around cost when we think about how various sectors of our government, of our society are struggling insofar as, just to put it plainly, money is concerned. We just had a story on a shortage of nurses and the fact that government apparently doesn't have the money to employ more nurses that are graduating from the system. So cost is always at the top of our minds, right? It's an incredibly difficult economic climate that we find ourselves in. What would an inquiry of this nature cost, Willem?
Well, that we don't know. You know, it's not in open domain what it will cost. But if you look at the recent inquiries, it ran into several hundreds of millions. We don't think this one will go that far, but at the end of the day, it's going to cost us a lot of money. But the cost, I think, for this inquiry will not only be on what it will cost to actually host the inquiry. The cost will be on the economic front. The cost will be on the rand that will suffer. The cost will be on the trust in the South African government from investors that will suffer, as well as at the end of the day, what if we are being excluded from, for instance, AGOA, the treaty that is really benefiting South Africa at the moment, and that will really hit the economy in terms of jobs, in terms of our export, etc., if we run into a roadblock there.
Certainly. The cost goes well beyond the inquiry itself. Willem Els, let me thank you for your time this morning. Willem is with the Institute for Security Studies.